Okay, hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. And first of all, I know that the writing on that board is reversed. And we are working on that, but when it is uploaded to YouTube, where all of these live videos are eventually archived, it's the Baker's Green Acres YouTube, it switches it around. So my people are checking with Mr. Zuckerberg as we speak, and we're going to get that straightened out. But for now, I'm just going to write it on here this way. And here's a little trick. If you want, you can get a mirror and stand like this as you read it, you know, if you really need to know how to do this cow milking process that we're talking about. Okay, so I just came down from milking Rosie. I do her in the barn up there. Now I'm in the butcher shop. You can see that I'm in my shirt because it's warm in here. We have a wood stove in here and I keep it warm. It is for prosperity. It's December 12th-ish, I think, and we have pretty moderate weather right now. It's below freezing, but only just barely, so it's maybe 28 degrees, which is very nice for northern Michigan. We really like this. Okay, so as you can see, I've filled in a little bit more of the outline, and I want to go through these things. Now, of course, I'm not hitting everything. I mean, it would take a lot longer, and the point of this presentation is to drive people to the Homesteaders Guild. And the Homesteaders Guild is where, when we dive into this, you have the opportunity to call in on Tuesday night, and I can answer questions, and you get to sit in a classroom where it's a virtual classroom where other folks are asking questions, always good questions, and beautiful questions, and you know, we get to converse on this. So this is like a teaser in a way, but it demonstrates to you how much information there is in something like homesteading. And you know, we're not talking commercial farming. I have commercial farmer friends that milk 150 cows just down the road, and they're not able to take the amount of time that we're able to take to do this. You know, I do other things as well. My schedule this week is going to be, or for this class is going to be, I milk. I'll talk to you a little bit up there about the different subjects and how I deal with them, and then we'll come right to the whiteboard and finish up. So let me go so I don't waste too much time on you. But cow breed right here, I've got a Jersey. There's a lot of nice breeds out there, but I think for the homesteader, you might want to think about a smaller breed. Like if you get a Holstein, they're up this high on their back, and they're going to give you a lot of milk because they're bred for milk production. And you might think about that, how much milk you want, and I'm going to get into that. Jerseys are great, Guernseys are great, and that's really all I know about. Around here, everybody else milks Holsteins. I know a couple of guys that have Jerseys, but I don't know them well enough to find out how they do in the commercial business with them. So that's what I know about breed. Handling, we went through a little bit that this morning. You know, it takes training to get them to do what you want them to do. It takes time, you know, like the way you train your dog. After a while, they want to please you. They want to do what you want them to do, and that just takes time. I can't really point to a book or anything like that that would outline how to do that. I know that, like in Rosie's case, I've walked her to that stanchion so many times that she starts to pull on the chain the closer she gets, so she knows it's there. And then when she gets to the door, she knows where she's going, and so on. And hopefully at some point I have a cowbell, and I'd like it to where I can just ring that cowbell. I saw this thing where this beautiful girl yells to the cows, woo-wee, and the cows came. Didn't work. I tried it this morning. Milking. I milk once a day, and I milk in the morning. Now, you can milk twice a day if you want. But for me, right now, I'm getting about 2 gallons of milk once a day. And she'll continue to do that for quite a while. I mean, I think that we can get, when she first starts milking, right after calving, she'll probably give 4 gallons of milk. And when you think about it, 4 gallons of milk every day, 7, that's a lot of milk. What are you going to do with that? And we're going to talk about that, what do you want to do with it. But right now I'm getting a gallon, 2 gallons, gallon and a half, 2 gallons a day. That's more than enough for me. And we're able to even share it with a couple of folks right there. That should set the bells off. So I milk once a day. When you first start, she's going to have a calf. And when she has that calf, you're going to let that calf have all the milk, because she produces at the beginning of her lactation colostrum. And the calf needs that. You don't need that. You don't need it and you don't want it. Sometimes people will milk that out and they'll save that. They'll freeze it in case they have another animal that needs milk, like a puppy or a baby pig or something like that. I don't do that just because the need has never arisen for me. Well, I shouldn't say that, because a lot of you know that I had to put a baby kitten on a puppy, on our dog when she had puppies. So, maybe if I had some frozen colostrum milk, I could have done that, but I don't do that. The calf is going to need it, and the calf is going to need it for probably about a week, and then you're going to want to start sharing with the calf. So you leave the calf with the cow, and then take the cow off once a day, bring the cow in once a day and start milking her, and let the calf have it the rest of the time. And you're going to get a lot of milk, so you might not want to do a full milking. You might only want to take 2 gallons off of her, and then leave the rest for the calf. And then at about 8 or 10 weeks, take the calf off. And some people won't even go that long. Some people will go 2 weeks and then take the calf off, and then start bringing the milk to the calf. Bring the calf about a quart of milk twice a day, right? And then increase that to 1.5 quarts. When the calf gets to about a gallon per day, right? About a gallon per day, or 1.5 gallons a day, they're getting pretty big, and then you're going to wean them, so you just stop milk altogether. They'll eat hay, they'll eat a little bit of grain, and then you have a calf. You'll get a calf every year out of your milk cow. You should. Your calf, let's talk about that a little bit. I know that's not cow, but some people might be thinking, I need to know this, and you do. If you have a bull calf, like I said, and you are just going to raise it for a beef animal, then you're going to want to castrate it. And I think maybe we would have to show that, but with a cow or a bovine, a bull, the testicles hang down, and so usually the way it's done, I've seen it anyway, they put a really heavy elastic band around there and just leave it. And it doesn't seem to bother them. They don't kick at it. They don't turn around and look at it. It doesn't seem to bother them. And then it restricts the blood flow there, and those little beans just fall off. I've never done it any other way, so I can't really talk to it. But I have seen it where they will cut them, pull the testicle out and cut it off. And the cut is so small, and it's in an area where on that bag where there's very little blood flow. It doesn't bleed a lot, and the blood clots very quickly. So you can throw a little bit of antiseptic on it and call it good. And all the animals that we've castrated, I've never had a problem with an animal that I've castrated. I've seen it where people have, because they haven't done it right, but we've never had a problem with it. So it's a safe practice. And like I said, you don't want a bull around if you don't have to. If you're new at this especially, a bull can be a very dangerous animal to have around. All right, never turn your back on a bull. Okay, next thing is going to be calf feeding. With my bread contract, I actually feed my calves some bread, right? And then they get grass hay, and now they're off milk, so, and of course they have to have water. And then I have a field. I would like to show this at some point. It's about a 2-acre field that I plant rye on, and the rye grows back really fast, so they're out there and they get to nip that rye off, and it's like fresh salad for them. And what you want to do with a calf is you want to be looking at their manure. If it gets too runny, you want to put them on drier stuff. Of course, there's an extreme. It can get runny and it can be scouring, and that's a totally different thing, and I don't have time to get into that right now. That would have to be a Homesteaders Guild subject to where we can talk about calves, because some people are going to want to buy calves and raise them up. And in that case, you're going to need to know what to look for health-wise for your calves. All right. Milking location. All right, I've got a place up there. She gets used to it. It's out of the rain. All it is a corner in my old barn. And I built a really rudimentary stanchion. I've had some nice ones that I've built before, but this one, I kind of put it together quick with old materials, and it's fine. It's good enough. It's not like it's going to be in a Hollywood movie. So good enough is good enough. You just need something that's going to hold her, and it will double. That stanchion will double, as I talked to you before about getting her pregnant, artificially inseminating her. When we put her in that, we can hold her, and then the person who's doing the insemination has an animal that's secure, right? Because if she's just out there in the field and you try to put your hand up into her uterus, she'll just walk away from you. So it's going to double. You need that. When I first started milking her here, all I did is tie her to a fence post. And it worked all right, but she could move around and she could kick at the milker and things like that. So I would say a location is something that you should consider. You know, when I gave you these categories, I prefaced that as needs, right? If you're doing it outside and it's raining on you, you'll say, I don't think I like doing this. So you want to make the process nice. I mean, you want to enjoy the process of milking your cow. If you hate it, that won't be good. So I would say find an inside location, build it up, get some lights. I got lights that hit from 2 different directions so I can see what I'm doing. And you know, I have a reel in there that acts as a table, so when I bring my equipment in the morning, I can set it down on it. I wired in my compressor so I can flip a switch to turn it on. I don't have to pull my glove off to plug something in. You can milk a cow like this by hand, and you might want to do that. Myself, I have this equipment that I got, and it was passed down to me by a family member, and I think it works better. I'll show it to you at some point in this presentation over the next few days, but I've milked enough cows like this, and I got better things to do than to milk the cow like that. But if you want to, you can, and it will really build your forearm strength too. There's a lot of fringe benefits to doing that. But myself, I collect the manure patties that are in there, and I take very good care of them, and I bed them because they're going to be instrumental in my gardening operation in the spring. So that's what I'm doing while my automatic milker is milking the cow. I am cleaning up the pen a little bit and make sure they have water and stuff. Training your cow, I think I talked about that a little bit. I mean, I've known people that have a lead cow, the one with the bell, that is very well trained and knows when to come up to be milked twice a day, or, you know, so they're not dumb animals. They're not on par with goats, let's say, but they're not dumb. How much milk are you going to get a day? with my jerseys, the most I've got is about 4.5 gallons a day. And that's early on in the whole thing. And the factors that you are going to want to think about is nutrition and comfort, right? And nutrition, you don't want to give them a bunch of grain. You don't want that, because you don't want that grain in your milk. You want to give them enough grain to make them happy and to keep a good fat layer on them, but you don't want them getting too fat. So grazing is the best way to do it, and that is where for 6 months of the year they can be out and the grass is going directly from where it's growing directly into their mouth. They're chomping it off. And there's a lot to know about grazing too. So it's not like you just turn them loose in a field and let them go. It's the quickest way to ruin a field. And that's a subject for the Homesteaders Guild too, because we're going to go deep into how to graze animals, because it's a symbiotic relationship between the animal and the field. The grass has a relationship between itself and the dirt. And this sounds a little weird, but if you can look into it deeper, there's little things that you can do to steward this along to where it'll work way better. And you're going to get, the result is going to be this. This is our goal. This is today's milk. This is one of them. And that's the goal right there. And I'll tell you what, Jersey milk fed on grass is a different experience. A glass of milk is something very enjoyable. Okay. So at the beginning, she'll do 4 gallons a day. Right now she's at 2, and she'll hold there for quite a while. And then she'll dwindle down to 1 and then 3/4. And about that time is when our next cow is gonna be coming in. We'll have calved. And so we can dry Rosie off, because it's gonna be time for her to calf. So then we don't want the energy going into the pail, we want the energy going into the calf, because that calf is our next T-bone steak or our next cow to replace Rosie. But most likely, the next calf that she has, we'll get it trained and sell it as a milk cow, most likely, because we'll have Ruby. And I only want to keep 2 cows. Okay? I talked about sharing with the calf, and I think I talked about caring for your calf. There again, if your calf is going to be a steer, I would say hi to it once in a while. Make sure it's well fed. But I don't think I would socialize myself with it. I don't want it following me around. The cow's a different story. If you're going to milk her, you want her to be real friendly towards you. You don't want her to ever think about hurting you. You want her to follow you in. So you want to start training her really young. Now, I got Rosie when she was 6. She's 6 years old. So she had some habits that she learned before. And I'm not exactly sure if they're good habits or bad habits. I don't really know. She does this thing where she looks up at me, she knows it's time to milk, and then she just looks back down. And then she plays this game where you got to come catch me. And she just does that once a week or so. Today was a day like that. Other times, as soon as she sees me, ba-doop, ba-doop, here she comes, right in the stanchion, here we go. And I had hoped that she would do that this morning so I could heap the praises on her, but no, she had to act like a goob. She actually went in where they bed at night. I have like a little shed that's part of the barn, and I call it the guest quarters, and they'll go in there. It's all dry manure, and they lie down in that, and that's where they kind of stay at night. I keep the water up by where I milk, and we're gonna talk water later, but the reason I do that is so that I'm in that area every day, right? Where northern Michigan gets pretty cold, very cold, water freezes, you know that. If the water is frozen, they can't drink it. They will not lick enough ice to quench their thirst. They need about 10 gallons a day. And if the water's warm, they're more likely to drink it. So I would prefer the water be, not 32 degrees, 32.5 degrees. I would rather it be like about 40 degrees. So I put a heater in the tank. Now, if the tank is inside, I'm going to draw less electricity to keep that water open. So I keep it inside. Now, where there's a heater in the tank, I want to be looking at that heater every single day, because those heaters can lead to problems, especially when you're milking in old barns and stuff. And you know the kind of problems I'm talking about. And I don't want that, so I want that someplace where I walk by it a couple times a day and I'm looking at it. It's not going to catch me by surprise if I can help it. Also, it's in a location where, like when we get into deep cold, even that heater is not going to keep up with it. I am going to get ice on the sides, and I may get a film on the top. I can break that up, and there's other things that we can do. We can talk about some other things, and I hope people will share their ideas about how they keep their water tanks open. There's a bunch of different methods, but the way I'm doing it, I'm using electricity. It's so cheap. I just know, but that's how I do it. But there's definitely other ways. Okay, well I'm going to conclude it right there. I will get this thing straightened around one way or another, or I'll learn to write backwards and inside out like that for you. And tomorrow, when I milk, we're going to talk about feed, okay? And then after I'm done, I'll come right down here to the whiteboard. I'll have that filled in, and we'll talk a little bit more like this. Now, if you put questions in these comments, I do not read the comments as they come up because they distract me, and I don't even read the names. I try not to read the names because then I start thinking about that person, and I'll say stuff that they would know about, and I don't like to do that. It gets way too distracting. But I do look at it later. I'll look at the comments later. If there's questions, I will write them down, and if they're good questions, there's never a dumb question, but there's bad questions, I will try and answer those for you. Now again, this is to drive people to the Homesteaders Guild. If you're interested in that, that's all being updated. We've rethought the pricing structure on that. We're thinking we'd like a much bigger footprint, and it doesn't have to be a really expensive deal. Because after all, this is about sharing information and all boats floating higher in the harbor. So, there we go. It's Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Anyone can farm.